Gary, you want to explain your budget?
Good evening.
Yes,
You will see, folks, that you have an attachment that lists the 6 amendments there in front of you. Just really quickly, the cover sheet's on the front, but the details are behind that. The first one being a budget amendment in ACTS, our transportation system, for volunteer reimbursement. What this is we have folks that basically, we call it volunteer reimbursement, but they actually act as subcontractors for us, and it fulfills a vital role for us in between us adding additional staff into our fleet, particularly for like one-offs like doctor's visits and things of that nature. We have already received well enough money in miscellaneous from this line item to cover what we're asking for there, the $16,000. Item 2, and if anybody has any questions, just stop me, please. Item 2 is a budget amendment to allow me to disperse the additional money that's been generated above what was budgeted from the fire tax districts, totaling $110,184. Item 3 is for domestic violence. Again, it's allowing me to disperse money that they've received additionally from grant funds. And again, you know, we just act as a pass-through, so we don't have any match or co-matches or anything with them. So this is just giving me spending authority to give them the money they've already given me, to give it back to them. In other words, the checks are written and we take deposit and then we write them back to domestic violence. Item 4 for EMS, Emergency Medical Services, is we approved the financing for a new ambulance this year. This is to actually amend the budget to accept the money and to expend it for that purpose. Item 5 in emergency management is to accept some additional grant money on the HEMP grant where we've done some hazardous training. Again, there's no county match. There's $8,000 there that we just need to be able to receive and expend. And then item 6, which is the last budget amendment, which is pretty detailed. It's a lot of things that we need to do to make ends meet for this particular year, and they consist of 5 different things: the belt building, the medical examiner program, social services, the JCPC Advisory Council, and Parks and Rec. So what that takes is $196,304 from fund balance to fund all of these things. So the belt building and Parks and Rec, those are the repairs in Parks and Rec that were at the boat landing in Ansonville. So those 2 are $26,200, which will be reimbursed from FEMA, deposited back into fund balance, but we have to front that to balance this year because we didn't finish our FEMA claim in the operating year, excuse me. The $165,000 of that number for social services is the remainder of the money that was originally approved in the 18 budget for the design of the social services building that was not expended. So that money reverted to fund balance. Now we're just pulling it back from fund balance into the general fund. So again, it's not really, although it's coming out of fund balance, we put it in there when it was left over from a prior year. But that's what it'll take to finish out that line item for this year. And then the remaining $5,104 of that total $196,304, we have a small payback in the JCPC Advisory Council of $104, and we don't have the money to pay for it. It's a very small budget there, and they just don't have any flexibility in other line items. And then our medical examiner fees, of where we pay for autopsies and such, we've spent more money this year than we've spent in recent memory. So we need about $3,200 right now, but in case, heaven forbid, something happens in the next 2 weeks, we've asked for $5,000. And then again, if we appropriate it from fund balance and it's not used, it just reverts back to fund balance. But like I said, heaven forbid something else happens or there's a bill that I don't have yet, but I'm just trying to write the year out with that.
Do you know how much money was in the medical examiner budget?
How much was in
the medical examiner?
$25,000. And we put 25 a year is what we've done for about the last 6 years. Most of the years we're spending 21-ish, 22.
The reason, can I say, the reason it's so high this year, anytime there's a murder or something, accident or something happen, am I correct, Sheriff? It takes more examining and all of that, am I right?
We get, and what we do internally is we get a bill, and so I was telling Mr. Monroe this earlier, in accounts payable, they go to the obituaries and make sure that it's on its own end that we're getting billed for, and so we print the obituary and attach it to the invoice, and that's how we keep it for our record keeping. But anyway, at this point, this would take the budget to 30. Hopefully we're at 28.2 right now. Hopefully we get by with that, but this we need a little extra money there.
No other question, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the budget amendments.
I second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? As unanimous.
Thank you much.
Record service, or county manager.
All right. 2 months ago, April 2nd, Mr. David Williamson came and presented before the board in regards to the record ordinance, in particular the fee schedule. The fee schedule hasn't changed since 2006, and it's now 2019. So, as per our ordinance, we should be meeting regularly, annually. That record committee, myself, Sheriff, Reed, several members of the public safety community are all part of this organization, this committee. We are now going to start meeting annually to reinforce this ordinance and also to review the fee schedule. So 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, Sheriff, we met up and we discussed the fee schedule for Anson County to update it from 2006 to 2019. We sat down for 2 hours, we discussed it, and if you take a look at the ordinance, we also made some other changes to it, all highlighted in yellow. We made sure that the work schedule was consistent across the board, across the ordinance. Some places it said 8 o'clock, some places it started at 7 o'clock. We made consistent that the record ordinance opening day will be from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We changed some of the wording, took everything to rotation period, so that individuals would know what they're getting assigned themselves onto. But most importantly, to Mr. Wilson's concern when he first came in, is the fee schedule on page 4. 6.0. We've updated this. We were sorely out of date. This is what's allowable by the record to charge individuals. Not what we're charging, not the county's charging, it's what's allowable. There's some flexibility. The record can choose to approve or to charge as much as this says here, but not over it.
Let me ask you a question. This committee, is it made up of all record people or?
It's not all record people. There were 3 records. There were emergency management, sheriff, fire. I think that was all that was there that day.
All the Thomas was supposed to do that.
E911 was invited but wasn't there. So it was a committee across the board, including myself. What we've done, we've looked at schedules across fee schedules across various different jurisdictions, and honestly, we looked at South Carolina, the state of South Carolina Highway Patrol, and they had a very robust and very comprehensive fee schedule. So we thought we'll mimic them until we find something that's better for the next year, and then we'll just see if this is a good program for us to follow, or was it something that was too constrictive, or we need to develop something differently. So as of right now, we're following them, that model, and you can see exactly what's on there based off fee schedule number 6 on page 4. And because of the ordinance, we would need you to approve the changes that were made to us.
Are there any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the county's revised record ordinance.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Budget ordinance and fee. I'm sorry. Okay, number 3, county manager budget ordinance.
Yes, the budget ordinance. You have it at your desk. We've made, from the time that we presented the budget to the public on June 4th to now, there's been very minor changes made to it. personnel changes, and we added $3,500 to emergency management for software updates. Outside that, our budget remains the same. It's at $29,960,444.
Mr. Monroe, there was discussion since the budget review on June 4th about hiring an intern, a full-time intern, at the rate, I believe, of $10,000 a year. Is that included in the revised budget?
Yes, Commissioner Getwick, that is part of the budget. That was part of one of the revisions that was made over the last 2 weeks, was adding that $10,000 into, it would be placed in my budget, the county manager administration budget.
Excellent.
Let's, explain this intern to Dr. Simba.
Part paid by another source, so.
So good, I'm good.
Oh, what?
Just let me know what.
No problem. The School of Government in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, have started a new program called Lead from North Carolina. It's based off the model of Teach for America. So, Teach for America takes young graduates from different schools across the nation and puts them in underserved environments to serve for 2 years as teachers. They
I'm very much in favor of that. You have to go in front.
Okay.
Okay, we will have a motion to approve the,
Before, I do have some comments.
okay.
If I may.
Go ahead.
First of all, there's a lot to like about Mr. Monroe's recommended budget for fiscal year 19 and 20. No property tax increase, 8% increases for Anson County Schools, South Piedmont Community College, and the Anson Economic Development Corporation. $85,000 for a comprehensive land use plan as a precursor to countywide zoning, something that many of our citizens have been asking for years and years and years, and I'm glad to see it included in the budget. $23,000 to establish a part-time litter pickup program. $23,000 is not a lot of money, but it's a great start to addressing a very big problem that we have in this county, in certain sections of our county. And the 5% COLA, market increase, as I call it, for county staff for the third consecutive year, I'm fully supportive of. And the plan to set aside $5 million from fund balance to support the new middle school project. Again, a lot to like in this budget. I would like clarification, however, on the $205,379 that's included for design work or design services for the Agri-Civic Center project.
Those dollars were kept into the budget. It's rollover dollars from the current year. So what is the $205,000, I think, started this current fiscal year at $215,000. So we kept that money in the budget, rolling it over with the intent of moving forward with the project. That project right now, as it currently states, is kind of in limbo. We've decided that we want to move forward with a market analysis, and the market analysis the funds to fund the market analysis will come from that project.
Don't you think this board need to make a decision before we decide if we're gonna move forward or we're gonna spend that money and not move forward? I mean, that wouldn't make much sense.
I would suggest that would be a good idea, yes, to make a decision whether or not to move forward with that project or not.
In fact, that's the rationale behind doing the market study, is my understanding, Commissioner Streeter. That is to determine if there's adequate justification for going forward with the project.
So that's the $205,000.
Yes,
Do that.
yes.
Is it gonna cost that much, $205,000 to do the market study?
It will not cost that much, no, sir. It will not cost that much.
What would you estimate a market study to cost,
Oh,
Mr. Monroe?
I'll get in trouble.
Just a range.
Yeah,
Just-
good question.
All right.
If I give a rank, I would say it's gonna cost less than $200,000. I would say it's costing less than $100,000. But I don't wanna go much more than that.
All right, understand.
Any other question?
There's another item that I'd like for the board to consider, and that is a salary increase for our county attorney.
Long overdue.
Absolutely, Dr. Sims. In fact, County Clerk, Ms. Cannon, was kind enough to send out some information on his salary. And total billings in 2017 amounted to just a tad over $19,000. And for 2018, $22,874.50. We've got one of the best deals in all of North Carolina as far as county attorneys is concerned. And I would like for the board to consider increasing his overall compensation by 15%.
I agree.
I have no problem with that, because one thing, since Mr. Monroe been here, I don't have to call him as much.
That is true.
So my recommendation, my motion is to increase county attorney salary by 15%.
May I make one clarification? And normally I was, if we were to go to this, I would wonder if we go to closed session to discuss funding for personnel. So that's what should we do that?
Let's do a closed session before we approve it.
You know, personnel, I mean, I don't, well, this
It
is
is
a
a
contract.
financial thing in this
It's a contract.
contract, but I'm just not personnel.
Yeah, well, no, it's that same,
Yes, sir.
and without having us to make any definitive moves in open session, that's where I feel the contract is something we should consider in closed session.
Let's do that. All right. Do
The other question I have is regarding the fee schedule for communication towers. I think it's currently $2,500, and we had talked about increasing that to $5,000.
Yes,
Is that included in the budget this month?
that is not. And what I would like to do, because that is part of this piece, I haven't informed you, I haven't given you any information on that. I would like to strike that from this agenda and bring it to you July 2nd with an updated fee schedule,
Excellent.
because I have not given you updated information on it.
will there be any more fee schedules you'll be bringing to us on July
No.
2nd?
No, I won't have anything else to bring to you, any other fee schedules, I don't think so.
If we could just, no other questions.
I have one other one.
Okay, go
if I
ahead.
may. And that is regarding the retrofitting or redesign of the old Walmart building for DSS. Are there funds in the budget to accommodate that process or that project?
To accommodate retrofitting, as of right now, there is no money in the budget to accommodate retrofitting that project. The reason why, we don't know how much it's gonna cost. Currently, we have an agreement with Mosley to survey that area to give us that cost estimate. Again, this is all coming upon our ability to get our financial reporting in order
By December.
by December.
Correct.
After December,
You said that at the last meeting.
we can go to LGC. LGC would then allow us to enter a long-term lease. At that point, if need be, we can put money in it by budget amendment to cover what needs to take place.
That's great. And my question was, do we have money in the budget for design services for Mosley?
The design work that they're doing right now is in the budget, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, could we, go in closed session for personnel matter? Can we get a motion?
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
If you all give us about 5 minutes, I promise, I'll have them out. We have a motion, so all in favor, let me know by aye. Y'all can stay, y'all can.